welcome back to the latest edition of Terrace Talk. Of course, a very sharp turnaround for Norwich City, that draw at the Hawthorns on Saturday. They return to Carrow Road on Tuesday night against Plymouth Argyle. I don't feel sort of any envy for their supporters having to make that really horrible long trip on Tuesday night. With that, delighted to be joined by Aaron from the Argyle Life, who maybe, unlike a lot of the Plymouth supporters on Tuesday night, actually comes from Norwich. So there's a little bit of an interesting backstory. Of course, Aaron, you were on this channel previously, and glad to have you back on the show. Just for anyone that didn't see that episode, you've obviously got an interesting backstory to Port Plymouth, live in Norwich. What's kind of the story behind that?
Yeah, so from the West Country, I'm actually in the West Country now, so I have to go and do that. I have to do 350 miles tomorrow. I'm only going one way, thankfully. But yeah, I came up to Norwich for uni, met somebody there, and then basically, apart from a 3 or 4 years in London, I've been in Norwich since, basically. So yeah, that's the long story short. So yeah.
Yeah, obviously we'll get a little bit now into the football on the pitch. Just briefly, last season first, survival in the Championship on the final day, quite a dramatic end of the day. I mean, Norwich were at Birmingham that day when they got relegated, and I remember every team around them seemed to win. Plymouth were one of those. How pleasing was that to survive in the Championship? I'd imagine that was the objective at the start of the season.
Yeah, I forgot that Norwich were playing them then. So thank you for sending them down, because that would have been insufferable. Obviously, Wade really kept us up in a way. Thank you. But yeah, it's brilliant. I wax lyrical often enough about Fortress Home Park, and obviously I know that you have your own decent home form at the moment, but there's like this never say die attitude at Home Park in which we will pick up points against anybody. And last season was incredible. Survival was the aim, same as this season, to be honest. And yeah, to do it again this year would be just as sweet, I think.
You mentioned there Wayne Rooney, of course, appointed in May. Had a few difficult spells, one of those at Birmingham City, as you mentioned, over in America, of course, at DC United. Done a pretty good job at Derby in sort of, trying to stabilise them in the Championship amid some pretty difficult sort of, I suppose, issues off the pitch at the time. What did you make of that appointment when he arrived? Obviously, there was maybe not the greatest recent history, but, I think there was reasoning behind it. I saw a piece on TalkSport with your owner, and he maybe spoke around kind of the sort of personality. Him as a candidate was pretty impressive. So yeah, what was your feeling at that time?
Yeah, on our end of season pod last year, we joked that Wayne Rooney was our manager of the season for keeping us up because of the terrible job that he did at Birmingham. And when we appointed him, I was absolutely fuming. I was seething. I've never been so angry about a footballing decision in my life. But that has mellowed quite a bit, I think. I personally don't believe all of the PR spin from the ownership about why they appointed him, especially now with the news that there's going to be a documentary coming out. And I think it was all part of the plan in terms of increasing the exposure of the club and the brand and all of that stuff. And I appreciate that you have to do these things now. And fine, if it works out okay, not a problem with it. But yeah, I've mellowed slightly in the fact that we have... if not the lowest budget in the league and one of the weakest teams in the league. And to be honest, any other manager could take us down as well. So the fact that we are currently only 2 points behind yourselves, which might say more about you than us at the moment, I think he's doing okay. The football has not been great, but whilst we're picking up the points, you don't really care, right? And it's when you start. It's when you start playing rubbish and getting battered. But we've also been battered this season. So, yeah, we've already been battered 4-0 and 5-0. So it's a bit of everything in there, really. But like I said, we have one of the weakest squads in the league, if not the lowest budget, if not Portsmouth, so the second lowest. And, yeah, he's doing a much better job than he should be doing on paper. So, yeah, fair play to him.
Yeah, you mentioned that tough start, a 4-0 defeat at Hillsborough. It feels like it's maybe picked up a little bit more of late, a few draws and quite an important win against Portsmouth quite recently. I mean, what's the performance levels been like? You mentioned they're maybe not the prettiest style of football, but if it's industrial and it keeps you in the Championship, I suppose that's probably the aim, of course, as you outlined. So, yeah, would you take that, I suppose, if it gets you where you want to be at the end of the season?
Yeah, I'm actually like, I don't actually know what the style of football is, because it's patient, and he's clearly trying to play like patient possession football. I just don't know whether we have the players to do that as such. And I think recently some people call it luck, and obviously you buy your own luck in some aspects of the game. But recently on Friday we drew 2-2 with Watford. And I read that Andre Gray's 2 goals, which were both sensational finishes, were a combined XG of 0.01. And he managed to get 2 goals out of that. So we've been incredibly clinical, whether it's been him, whether it's been Ryan Harvey previously, and mainly last season, to be honest, whether it's been Morgan Whittaker firing home a 35-yard screamer away at QPR, whether it's been Michael Obafemi being slightly lucky against Portsmouth. All of this has added up to the point where we are in a position where I actually don't think we're going to go down, because we have that mentality of that never say die mentality. But that being said, we don't have that on the road. We don't have that away from home. Basically, to reel off some very quick stats, we've scored twice in our last 11 away games. We've travelled 17,000 miles nearly since we've been promoted back to the Championship for 3 away wins. That's in all competitions. So on the road, we are terrible, basically. And that you know, head versus heart, as part of me thinks that this is gonna be the game where we come and turn you over, and I have absolutely no idea why I think that, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm going to push you for a prediction very shortly. What do you put that down to? You mentioned obviously that form at home park. It's so strong. I mean, we were, of course, there for that pretty horrible drubbing for Norwich on, almost over a year ago now, and the atmosphere there, sort of feeling the belief. Yet, as you mentioned, away from home seems to be a bit of a struggle. Is there anything you can pinpoint as to why?
For me, I think it's purely just travel. I think it's as you know, and as we know, living in Norwich, it is in the back end of nowhere, whereas Plymouth is that and a bit more. Thankfully, we don't have that A47 to contend with. We do have the A38, so you can get here a little bit faster, but it's just miles away. And I think a lot of away teams just write it off as it's miles away, long travel, whatever. Like, it would take a point. Whereas away from home, we're doing that every week, and it's not a new thing. We've been terrible on the road since I've been an Argyle fan, to be honest, apart from maybe one season in like 2018, maybe 2017, 2018 under Derek Adams, where it switched and we were terrible at home and brilliant away. We're just miles away from anywhere, I think, and that's what I would boil it down to if there was one thing.
Yeah, who's maybe the star player to look out for? I know you've got a few key players missing. I mean, naturally, if anybody says Plymouth star play, they mentioned Morgan Whittaker, of course, who was pretty impressive against Norwich last season. I think he scored four goals over the 2 games. Sissoko, I've seen some bits from him, but I believe he's also out for tomorrow. So who's maybe the star player we should be aware of?
Yeah, we've had a bit of an injury crisis, but we're slowly getting over that. And the fact that Adam Randall, who is our midfield maestro, the Plymouth Pirlo, as he's been coined down here, he makes us tick. But the guy that I'm going to pick out for tomorrow is Lewis Gibson, who he's one of those players where I don't know how we've got him, and I don't expect him to be with us much longer, to be honest, in truth, because Everton paid £5 million for his services when he was a child. And how we got him in a free, how we got him down here, I have absolutely no clue, because he is, I would say, different gravy, but different mustard, shall we say, for a Norwich perspective. He is a sensational centre back, and I think tomorrow we're going to need maybe our best defenders to be. Can a defender be fit and firing? That basically one for the cliches pod, I think.
Yeah. One player that's maybe not always fit and firing, as Norwich found out, Adam Forshaw, and of course another player that used to play for Norwich, Bali Mumba. How have those two been getting on this season? I mean, Mumba obviously left in sort of difficult cloud, I suppose, that as Norwich fans saw it at the time. But maybe from the bits I've seen, not quite kicked on to those League One levels that he showed on loan at Argyle.
Yeah, I think it was always going to be difficult for Mumba because he was exceptional in League One, to the point where, like, you know, he didn't even have to be that good, and we could have still won the league. I think he was phenomenal. I think we'll always have that day up at Portman Road where he pinged in an equaliser in the, I want to say 89th minute or something. It was phenomenal, absolutely brilliant day, and he is still a brilliant player. I think it's just been the step up to the Championship initially. He took to it really well. He's had 4 spells in the Championship now. With Sunderland, where he played centre midfield, with yourselves, where he played at right back, with Peterborough, where he played left wing, and with us, where he's playing predominantly a left wing back role. But we've been prone to switch him about as well. So there is that element where he's not. I don't think he's been entirely settled. I think he is our nailed on left back, left wing back now. But he's just so much better coming onto the ball from that wing back position and beating a man and getting a pass off or getting a shot away. Whereas we've sort of predominantly switched to like a back 4 now. So it's you're either asking him to be an out and out winger or a left back. And I think maybe there was. I understand why you let him go so cheap now, to be honest. But for us, it's still a joint record transfer fee. So you might think that's pennies, whereas to us, that's phenomenal amount of money. And he is a phenomenal player. But yeah, I understand why maybe Sunderland and Norwich didn't keep hold of him. But that's no slight on him. Yeah, I didn't answer your question about Forshaw. Sorry, a little bit of editing for you there. Yeah, he's. I think his legs are gone. If I'm just being brutally honest, like, seems like a lovely bloke, and he is still the sort of player that we need in and around the dressing room, because our squad is still relatively young and there is not much Championship experience in there at all, especially with the likes of Joe Edwards out at the moment. So, yeah, I think maybe he came to us. If he came to us when he went to Norwich, I think we would have a much different opinion of him, because obviously we would have been in League One as well, and I think he would have had the legs for that for sure. But I think there's something at the start of this season in which he's just like it's just done, I think, and it's I hate to put him down because he's not done anything particularly wrong. He's just not really performed to the level that we sort of expect for a player of his experience.
Yeah, before I get your prediction, just intrigued to get your take on Norwich. I'd imagine, obviously, given you live in the city, you would engage with people that are Norwich fans on a regular basis, maybe got a little bit more of a closer eye on what's going on at Carrow Road. So what have you made of this new era under off Torrop? Yeah,
unfortunately, I keep a closer eye than I'd like on Norwich City. Yeah, I think the Norwich fans that I know maybe have a slightly higher expectation from this season than they should have. I think, a top 10 finish, or knocking on the door of the playoffs is something that you need in this long rebuild, that slow process that you're going through, and obviously a change of ownership and stuff as well. Like, all of those things have a knock-on effect. I think you're more than capable of a top 10 finish, and I think that there's a phrase down here called Dr. Argyle will see you now, which is it's a new thing really, but I think we'll put your form back where it should be come Tuesday night. So I just wouldn't panic. Every Norwich fan that I know seems to hate the yo-yoing of going up to the Premier League and getting relegated, but as soon as they're back in the Championship, they want to get promoted again. And I don't understand that. I think just enjoy the ride, and just I think now you've got a manager of a real style that he needs time to embed. I think he'll get there, but I've not really seen any discontent either, to be honest. I think it's just people from Norfolk like to grumble, don't they?
They do indeed, yeah. We've got a few key players back, of course, tomorrow as well. Kenny McLean's probably the key one. With that, I suppose, how do you see this game unfolding at Carrow Road? Give us a score prediction. I know Plymouth haven't won at Carrow Road since 2007. Is that going to change tomorrow night?
Yeah, this is the thing. Sometimes when I read out those stats, people accuse me of being slightly negative. I'm actually stupidly positive most of the time, and I think tomorrow we have this thing where when we play in front of big away ends, we are terrible. And we're taking 3,500 to Bristol City on Saturday. we will get pumped. Whereas on Tuesday, I think we're only taking a couple of hundred, and that fills me with joy, because that makes me think, this is it. This is the one. This is the one where we're going to turn up. And like I said, we've gone nearly 17,000 miles in the Championship for only 3 wins, and it just feels like we're due one. It feels like we're due one, and when we get them big. And also, heart over head. But I think I'm going to go for like a 3-1 Plymouth Argyle win. Don't know where from. I don't know who's scoring those goals, but that's just what I'm going with.
Yeah, and I appreciate, of course, the optimism. I think anybody who comes on these shows and predicts their team to get anything at Carrow Road, I always enjoy their kind of positive nature, I suppose, and view on the game, because we don't get that too often.
Yeah, obviously, your home form is incredible as well, right? Was it like 1 defeat in over a year? Like that. Yeah. That would be so Argyle to turn up and get it. And I was a bit annoyed when you were beat the other day. I thought we were going to be the ones to do it, because that would have been incredible. Obviously, brilliant for me. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know why. It's purely blind optimism that we go there and get something. But I just think we do it.
Yeah, and then finally, of course, just want to plug your podcast there. You've got the handle there underneath. Argyle Life, of course, do some really good content. Just want to plug where people can find that.
Oh, cheers, mate. Yeah, I just want to, before I do that, I just want to point out that this isn't my bedroom. This is my house. I don't have a pasty advert. I am in a cafe. I realised that we spoke about that before we started recording. So if anybody's watching, I don't have that in my house, although I might take it. Argyle Life. We run the Green and White podcast. We were just nominated for the best podcast in the Football League. Unfortunately, we didn't win it. We lost out to Under the Kosh and Not the Top 20, two that you've most probably heard of, much more than ours. But yeah, we go live after the day after every game, roughly around 8 p.m. So we'll be live on Wednesday to discuss our 4-1 win, or 3-1 win? Whatever, 3-4-5 6-1 win over Norwich City on Tuesday. So you can find us on YouTube, and basically anywhere you can find the pink, you can find us.
Of course, we'll link that down below. Aaron, I really do appreciate your time this evening. Obviously, as you mentioned, in a cafe as well. So really gone all that to join us.
Cheers, mate. Yeah, we leave stupidly. We leave stupidly early tomorrow for an away day. Basically, we have to be. I think we're being picked up at like 9 a.m. But like I said, I'm so glad I only have to do that one way, and I can be in bed by like 10 p.m. Thank God.
Yeah, so I'm dreading that journey already in reverse. Whenever the reverse picture is, I'd have to check the calendar. Yeah. But always enjoy, I suppose, a trip when we get to Plymouth. But it always feels just so long when you're in the car. It feels like it takes a day and a half to get.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a long way to both places, annoyingly. So maybe this will be an incredibly dull 0-0 draw in which everybody's so lethargic from travelling. But I hope not. But we'll see. Yeah.
Let's hope not. With that, we're going to round off. Plenty of good content across our channels as well. Of course, Sam done Tactics Board this morning, so you can go and check that out now. A little bit more of a deeper dive in terms of how Norwich might set up the approach and how, I suppose, the two teams' strengths and weaknesses might counteract each other. We spoke to Johannes off Torp this lunchtime. The full press conference is available now on the Pink and YouTube channel. So after you've watched this, you can head over there and, of course, go and check that out as well. Plenty of good stuff coming from your way at Carrow Road tomorrow night as well. Of course, the usual team news live and all the post-match fallout from this game. So plenty to get stuck into. Ahead of another game as well on Saturday. So you can join me again on Terrace Talk in a few days' time where we face Luton at Carrow Road. So with that, we're going to sign off. Enjoy the rest of your evening and we'll see you at Carrow Road tomorrow.